Good evening, YouTube. This is what appears to be the first ever in the history of the world video evidence and a look at a possible 1972 Fender Rhodes Executone. I have no confirmation if this is an actual Executone, but this thing fits the bill, and I'll show you why. If you Google it, the story is that Harold around. He was a tinkerer for a living, pretty much. And he experimented with a Fender Rhodes 73 in the home model cabinet, or even the student model cabinet with the solid wood on the side. The difference between this and the other models like it is it has 3 pedals, sustain in the middle, reverb, I think, on the left, and vibrato on the right. And then, as you see from the preamp controls on the face here, you have what I think is channel 2 of a period correct Fender Bandmaster tube amplifier. All the other Fender Rhodes home and student models, and any of them that had amps, as far as I've read, just had solid state amps, and usually a single 12. This has 2 JBL 12s in it. Again, that fits the bill for the Executone. If the internet is to be believed, there was about, I've seen numbers of 11, 14, and 17 as far as the total production, so it's safe to say that a dozen or so, less than 20 of these were ever built. And I can see why this thing is so over the top. You're not going to get past 3 on the volume without doing serious damage to your brain and to those of your neighbors, if they have brains, if you're lucky. Up top, it's just, apart from the preamp, obviously, it's your basic 73 piano. All the tines, everything's normal. To get a shot of the date, I don't know if you can read that very well. 10th week of 1972. I don't know what that little circle with the 1 is in the middle. I don't see that anywhere else. The 010254 TPJ is a very common label on a lot of these Rhodes of this era. This, as far as I can determine, is the preamp out that would have fed a tape deck. Some of these had Bell & Howell tape decks, and the cable snakes down through and terminates in the gap. If I can find it, it's an old style 1/8 inch mono jack. And I don't have anything I can plug this into. It's a really old style with a very weird barrel shape. It doesn't seem to want to go into anything modern, so I haven't really tested that. There's no holes down here. There's no evidence that I can see there ever was a tape deck on this machine. There's no mounting screw holes. There's nothing missing. So I don't think there ever was one. And student models oftentimes had a headphone and power control on this side, whereas this has the power switch on top right there, which fits the bill of an Executone. One little difference, and I don't know how significant this is, the 2 other pictures I've seen of Executones, you look closely, you'll notice that the preamp rail lines up with the low key. That's the low E here. So the volume knob would be right here, and then on up. But mine, for whatever reason, and this is not modified, this is a stock plate, certainly. If you look at the pictures on the EP forum that I've posted, you'll see a bare shot with the preamp out, and there's just 7 holes drilled. Factory done, there's no question. That was not some aftermarket hack job at home. These switches, however, other Executones don't seem to have. The jack on the right is nothing. I have no clue what it does. It doesn't accept cable. This, I don't think it's a headphone out, but when I had this switch here, this is an external toggle if you want to hook up a second cab. If you put it in the right position, it cuts the power to the amplifier, at least to the internal speakers, in half. Put it in the left and you get full volume. Also, it'll toggle on an external cab. If you don't think 2 12-inch JBLs with 100 watts of tube amp is enough to kill you and your neighbors, then you can hook up a second 12. I did that with my bag end a while back, and it's just so absurdly loud. And this is a home piano, so I think I know why this never went into production, because it's absolutely insane in every way. It's total overkill. shot of the serial plate here. Very low serial number, 150113, in the model home. Yeah, 100 watts on a home piano. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to spin it around here. Somebody put it on casters, which was friendly. Makes it easier to move. The cover is just removed. It's a standard vinyl top. Look around back a bit. And there you have it. Kind of grainy, but two period correct JBL drivers. D120F. That one looks a little older and more worn. This one is cleaner and probably a bit newer, but it's still a very old speaker, 70s. The amplifier, which I dropped out already and kind of went over. I do think it's a Bandmaster. It's something like that. Right there you'll see 200 watts. That's an output. It's not a 200 watt amp. It's a 100 watt standard guitar amp. If you can see that there. Total load 4 ohms, 100 watts RMS. So it's a 100 watt guitar amp, not 200 as some people have said. That's the reverb tank. It's a really useless reverb. It has a lot of ground noise and it's just kind of senseless to have. I might even pull that out entirely. This is something to do with the external speaker. And there's a jack dangling here. Precipitous lamp wiring throughout. I don't know if Harold Rhodes would have done something quite this sloppy, or if somebody hacked this up a little bit because they thought that the 212s weren't enough. I really don't know. It's hard to find information about these. There's the pedal guts down there, all 3 of them. Not aftermarket. That's a standard panel there, all drilled out. There's the gap. I put some newer RCA cables on the reverb because the old ones were shot. Apart from that, though, you see the 4 RCA power tubes, all the preamp tubes. Everything's in order. Everything works. This thing is a beast. Again, go to the EP forum. I put a thread there about this. Trying to get some answers. Is this actually an Executone? There's no label on it that says Executone. I've never seen a label, if they ever came up with one. There's a strange etching. I don't know if that's going to show up in the camera or not. It's upside down from this angle. It's E495558. No idea. Could have been a phone number. I'm old enough to remember that. Okay, so slide this thing back. I'm going to fire it up here. And hopefully I can get some decent audio for you. Power that up. Red light does work. It's just very faint. But you can see it there. It does come on. Put the volume about 2. And here she comes. I'm going to turn the volume down here. I think I'm overloading my camera microphone. Bear with me, please.